What's up, everybody? Jake Noecker here. Good friend of mine, Zac Coffman, to my left or right. Don't know which way I will edit him. Host of the 4 Ounces to Freedom podcast. We got some best bets for UFC 283, Jamal Hill, Glover Teixeira. We got to discuss those. But first and foremost, Zac, thank you for joining me, man. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course, dude. And I mean, for those who don't follow Zac or know Zac, he runs a podcast, a show called 4 Ounces to Freedom. Interviews fighters from regional local guys, Cage Fury guys, all the way up to hopefully some UFC guys soon. But Zac, before we start, tell me a little bit about what you're doing, because I think it's awesome, man. And we've been talking about this for a while. You give me some good bones, so to speak, in the news, and I'm glad to see you doing your own thing now.
Yeah, that's pretty much where it started. I was kind of being an insider for a handful of people and appreciated everything that everyone else was doing, and decided it was time to kind of just test the waters and see what I could do. And we're 2 episodes in, with the third one recording tomorrow as the time of recording.
And I mean, people who follow Cage Fury and regional promotions, you've obviously heard of Eddie Torres and Richie Lewis going at it. If you care about that drama, which I'm sure many of you do, Zac's page, whichever side he's on, is the one to go follow. He's going to be interviewing both of those guys, so keep up with that. But now what most of you care about, UFC 283, as I mentioned, this weekend, January 21st, pay-per-view, all of whatever it costs now, $80 or whatever. But it's a pretty good card. Jamal Hill, Glover Teixeira, light heavyweight title fight. Great fight. We'll talk about that one a little bit. Co-main event, Brandon Moreno versus Figueiredo 4. I don't really have a bet there, but I don't know how you even call that fight. Do you have an opinion on that before we get started?
I do, actually.
You have a bet?
And it's kind of, in a way, I think I'm still on the fence, but I'm mixing in the Krause drama. I think that hurts Brandon, even though he's going with Saeed, Coach Saeed.
Mm-hmm.
I think, especially with today's picture, Figgy looks to be on weight already, which was my main concern. I didn't think he was going to make it.
Yeah.
So I think him at plus 100 as of this morning is pretty good. I'm hoping people kind of lean where I was leaning and go on Brandon, because I think Brandon personally won 3 out of the 4 so far.
Yeah.
But the one was a draw. Whereas I think Figgy takes it now, and I don't think Figgy fights again at flyweight.
I don't disagree with you at all. And right now I'm looking at BetMGM, who sponsors my podcast. Moreno's 115, Figgy's minus 105. So close fight, man. And I tend to agree with you. I'm just a little bit too afraid to touch it, because, you know, anytime people fight 4 times and the fights have been that close and there's still a pick 'em, I'm too afraid. My money says, no, not for me. The fights I do care about, I have one, not care about, I care about all these fights, but the fights I have money on, or I'm going to put money on, 1, 2, 3 singles and a parlay, which includes 3 legs. I don't really like parlays more than 2, but I really like this parlay. So I will start with the singles, do the parlay last. First up, we got Warlley Alves, minus 125, going up against Nicholas Dalby, plus 105. I think we agree on this one, but I just want to tell you why I'm on Warlley first. It's really the experience and the fight IQ that I think is going to carry him in this fight. That might seem like a cop-out answer. You might say, Jake, experience and fight IQ does not carry you in every fight. I think against a Nicholas Dalby, it will. Nicholas Dalby, someone we've seen have poor fight IQ, not be very active in the cage, tend to throw awkward, just like weird striking that doesn't really coincide with what a UFC fighter should be throwing in terms of technical striking with a fast, hardcore pace. I think Alves is going to expose him, pick him apart on the feet a little bit, use the distance, eventually take him down, maybe get that sub. His grappling is top-notch, and Dalby, from what we've seen in the UFC, I think he should be a bigger underdog here. How do you feel about the fight?
Yeah, pretty much agree with everything you just stated. I think this is the fight that Alves probably needed versus his last one out against Jeremiah Wells.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I appreciated that one because I'm a Wells fan from the original scene upwards. It was a long delayed there, and I think it's another reason why Wells came in such high plus money.
Mm-hmm.
This is more aligned with Alves' style. I don't think it's going to be a complete walkover, but I don't see it going the distance, and I see Alves walking away with it.
And Dalby's a tough guy. Like, he is somebody who can go out there against top vets and squeak out a decision victory because, as I mentioned, he has a very awkward fighting style. And if he can implement that into a fight, the judges don't always know how to look at that. So, again, not a walk in the park, like you said, but stylistically here, I think it's a great matchup for Warlley. And if he sits under a minus 150 right now, minus 125, I can't ignore that. Got to throw a unit or two on that. Moving on to a fight that I know we disagree about because you told me we disagree. Probably the fight I might, other than the main event and the co-main event, I might be looking forward to this one most. Terrence T-Rex McKinney, get to see him back in the octagon. In my opinion, a step down in competition against Ismail Bonfim coming off a Contender Series. That's not a knock on Ismail. Ismail's a great fighter. Both Bonfim bros are absolutely stellar prospects, but Terrence McKinney in that first round, dude, so dangerous on the feet, on the ground, no matter where it goes. And something that he mentioned he's specifically been really working on this camp is cardio. I think he's done being a one-trick pony. I think he wants to see those later rounds. And I think this fight against Bonfim, who is somebody who is extremely good at grappling, who has had luck on the feet, I think he's really going to have a hard time with this test as a UFC debut because Terrence McKinney is insanely good.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with anything you just said. Outside of the bet.
Sure.
On the Contender Series, I don't think there's any denying that this Bonham brother is the weaker of the two.
Sure. Maybe a little bit.
And that was how I felt with the Contender Series as well. I thought Gabe was going to be a shoo-in. There was no question about it.
Yeah.
He proved me wrong there. This one, I think it's more so this is like the first time McKinney's out of the US. And the crowd isn't just a crowd, it's a Brazilian crowd.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, it's just a whole different animal. I think that gets to him. I don't think it's so much the travel. I think the flight is long as well. But I think he came in Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I think that's enough time for him to kind of just quickly adapt. It's not a lot of it's not major time zone differences. It's just the flight and then relaxation. I think the crowd gets to him, and they get even the weaker bottom at plus money. I'll take it. I did kind of go back and make sure this wasn't a petty bet because there was some Twitter beef going on with McKinney. Yeah. But no, I think I'm even willing to do a Botham parlay between both brothers at this point. And it's all based on the Brazilian crowd.
So let me ask you a question about that though. And before I ask you this, the Bonfim parlay right now is paying out plus 223. So that's pretty good odds. We put both of them together, but it's something that I think, especially in this like new age of UFC going forward, we've seen it in the US especially, is it's not so much like a home country pride sport right now. So my question is, do you think that the Brazilian crowd is going to boo Terrence McKinney, even though he's a big star, a bigger star than Bonfim? Because you go ahead and give your spiel. You're already nodding.
Yep. The Brazilian crowd has always been that way. They, up until the decision is official, you are an enemy. Once it's official, they don't care if you win or lose, unless you pull a like Perry or a Chael Sonnen, and you actually diss the country.
Or Colby Covington.
Kobe. Actually, I don't think it was Mike Perry. I think it was Kobe that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And that's when it goes outside of the arena. Whereas in the arena, the Brazilian crowd is 100% Brazilian. But they respect the sport. It's not like a Japanese crowd where they will clap for both of you. They'll lean the home crowd favorite, but they'll appreciate it either way. The Brazilian crowd will be booing Terrence at his walkout. And I don't know how he's going to handle that either. I see how he handles like the Twitter beef. He does snap back.
Yeah.
And you can't really snap back at a crowd when you're locked in a cage.
No, or else you'll get distracted. I mean,
yep.
That's not your fight. So that's very interesting because you're right. Culturally, it is different down there. You know, I was in MSG for 268 or no, what was the more recent one? 281. And for Erin Blanchfield to be booed in front of her home crowd for Molly McCann, blown away. But you're right. That's not going to happen in Brazil. That's not going to happen in England. Certainly not going to happen in Japan. But that's going to be an interesting factor in this fight because Terrence McKinney is going to be thrown off his feet when that happens. Because I'm going to be thrown off my feet when that happens. Because I'm expecting Terrence to get a warm welcome, and I'm just forgetting it's at UNES Arena. So, good point, Zach. Good point. However, I'm still betting Terrence. So, Settle down, Tiger. Main event, my last single of the night here. Glover Teixeira, Jamal Hill. I don't understand. I guess I do understand, but I'm going to expose this. Glover Teixeira plus 110. Are you kidding me against Jamal Hill? Unless Jamal Hill gets a knockout in round 1, 2, maybe 3, no way for him to win this fight. He fades so bad in those championship rounds. Glover Teixeira, he doesn't fade bad in those championship rounds. He comes alive. I think he's going to be too durable, too experienced. I think he's going to catch Jamal Hill with a late submission or at least a close but dominant decision victory. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I think Glover's only issue in this fight is age.
Sure.
It's
However, before you go on, let me remind you how good he performed at almost this age against Yuri Prohashka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, anyone. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I know we're talking. I think it was a year or two ago now. He literally beat Anthony Smith's teeth out of his mouth.
Yep.
And then because he's a nice guy, gave him back his teeth. But no, I think the only issue here is age, and quickness because of the age. He's durable. I mean, if you look at all the older ones that have been in the UFC recently, Olenek was durable too. He looked like he was fighting after a night at the bar, but he was always there.
Yeah.
Glover's kind of the same way. And it's just a different breed. I lean on the fact that I think this is too fast of a jump for Jamal.
Yes.
I think another 2 or 3 fights would have been okay. But when you look at people on this card alone, like Paul Craig beat Jamal Hill, and Jamal Hill's in this title shot.
And it wasn't long ago.
No. And I mean, I know that was an injury mixed with beating his face in while in the submission. But now I'm leaning Glover. I actually, with the Brazilian as well, I'm actually leaning Glover and Figgy, as I mentioned earlier. That one right now is hovering around 320 together, which I think is amazing.
Oh yeah, that's for on BetMGM it's plus 310, so that's great.
And I think those two together, it again, Brazilian crowd as well. It's a great, and I will even go another bet that's not a prop anywhere. Glover wins, Glover retires.
I hope you're right, man. I would love if Glover won and retired home crowd in Brazil. That would be so epic. Second belt after the age of 40. Insane. I like your little Brazilian parlay. My only hesitance there is everybody who watches my videos knows I don't throw people in a parlay unless I'm trying to get odds under minus like 200. So I think, Figgy at minus 105, Glover at plus 110. You can play them both single. But yeah, if you're confident enough to put them in a parlay, triple that money like that, baby. But yeah, man, I don't know here. It's just tough because obviously Jamal is going to piece Glover up early in the fight. I think. I could be wrong. Glover could use distance, put up against the cage, real just like grind and pound kind of fight. But I expect Jamal to hit Glover a few times. Glover has dropped early and recovered, so it's going to be a scary fight to watch, especially if money on the Glover side, because early in that fight, you're going to be on the edge of your seat. It might even make more sense to live bet Glover. I'm not much of a live better, but this situation after round 1 where he takes a beating on the feet might be worth to put some money on him, even further plus money. I'm just excited for the main event. Can't wait. I love that the odds for my pick'ems are all under minus 130. Beautiful. It doesn't happen often. Happened last week too. My parlay, I couldn't get as lucky with. I have like disgusting odds on these 3 people to get me to a minus 145. You will not hear me say I'm going to throw a minus 1100 in a parlay often, but geez, I'm going to do it here. My parlay consists of Jayton Almeida minus 1100, Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop, minus 350, and Jessica Andrade, minus 500. As I said, don't play any of those single, but if you put them together, minus 145 parlay. I love that. Jayton Almeida going up against Shamil. Crazy last name. Almeida's going to destroy him, probably inside the distance. He's the hottest prospect on the roster, in my opinion. Don't sweat that one. Only 1,100 I ever put into a parlay. RoboCop going up against Bruno Ferreira. RoboCop's a beast, super durable, amazing striking on the feet. The much more experienced fighter of the two here. I love him at minus 350 paired with the other two. Lastly, Jessica Andrade going up against Lauren Murphy. Come on. Come on. Jessica Andrade all day. So I really like those 3 picks for a parlay. Very confident that cashes. Do you agree, or am I crazy for putting a 500 and 1100 in a parlay?
No, I mean I think it's the only way to bet them, unless you you go prop wise. If you pull my record, props are my weakness.
They're everyone's weakness.
If you, I mean, look at Sodiq Yusuff, his last fight, his first submission victory. I bet him by knockout.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think that was the most obvious choice there was.
Mm-hmm.
And when he won by submission, that makes the most obvious choice because I bet by finish or by knockout. I think there is a few wins on here that you could probably beat by props. Almeida by finish, I wouldn't even go one way or the other. Andrade by, I mean, that's another one you could probably go by finish.
Yeah.
But Lauren Murphy is tough.
Very durable.
I think she will get her demolished for all 15 minutes, but I think she could last all 15 minutes.
Sure.
But Andrade also has the only standing, was it standing?
Yeah, it was
the guillotine or rear, I forget what it was.
Arm triangle, yeah.
Arm triangle, yeah. And so I mean, she could finish it pretty much anywhere, and Lauren will fight it anywhere. Mm-hmm. She's not going to just give up because she gets taken down. She's not going to get up because she's being thrown into the cage. And this isn't even just another Brazilian lean. This is just the fact that I question how Lauren is as high ranked as she is, and I don't mean about that by disrespect. She does pull through in fights that she shouldn't win.
Yes.
But no, I think at 145 for these 3, it's the only way to bet it. For me with parlays, I usually don't touch anything that's not at least double money, which is why I said I would have to lean a prop somewhere, but I think every prop is bustable. If you bet Armada to win by finish, he's going to win by decision. Andrade, you go by finish, he's going to win by decision as well. Rodriguez is just another one. I'm also curious to see how his forehead has healed.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if that thing pops open and bleeds all over the canvas again. And the only prop out of those that I think is 100% safe is Almeida by finish. I just don't have those odds in front of me. And I assume they're still going to be a minus 600. So for me to play a minus 600 by finish, that's scary. That's scary stuff right there. But yeah, I agree, man. The parlay I think hits. I just realized it is 3 Brazilians. Didn't really think about that. Terrence McKinney's actually the only Brazilian I am putting money on so far. So that makes me a little nervous. But fun card, man. First pay-per-view of the year. Really can't wait. We have a lot of good pay-per-views lined up, and this one kicks them off. Hopefully, we can make some bets cash too. Zach, that's all I got. Before I get out of here, I want to ask you, I know you talked Figgy and Moreno, but are there any other bets I didn't mention that you love?
No, actually, I mean, this is a great starter of the year pay-per-view. There's a lot of fun ones to watch, but as far as betting, I would say it's a very weak betting card. I think the ones we kind of touched on are the ones to bet. I will go into Saturday saying these are probably the ones I'll bet, but I'll end up betting from the very first fight.
Yeah.
And then by the pay-per-view kickoff, I'll regret everything on the prelims.
Yep.
But no, I think outside of that, it's a fun card. It's a nice prospect card as well. Great intro for a lot of the Brazilians on this card, and leads us into better cards throughout the year.
Yeah, 100%, man. And yeah, coming off of a plus 5.7 unit win last weekend, I'm going to take a little slow this weekend and try to get through this Rocky pay-per-view. But Zach, again, thank you so much, everybody. Go follow Zach. I will link all of his social medias below. Make sure you tune into his show, 4 Ounces to Freedom, for all the good fighter interviews. And stay tuned for my full picks and bets. Let me try that one again. They'll be released on Friday, maybe Thursday. I got my BetQL article coming out on Thursday with my bets. Went 4 for 4 last week, and obviously tapped out Saturday night to get you through the pay-per-view. But thank you, everybody. Zach, you the man. Have a great day, and let's cash, folks. Let's cash.
Yeah, right. And a sure win for Saturday. Go Birds.
Go Birds. Yes, sir.